What up, y'all? We back at it. It's your boy Andre, and this episode we're just gonna go through the latest sports news, the NFL, NBA, and the WNBA. Just I haven't done one of these in a while, and the last two episodes. If you haven't listened to them already, NBA postseason reactions, free agency recap in the NBA. Same with the NHL, the postseason and free agency recap. You can listen to those now on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts, and also on the YouTube page as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's been a minute since I've ran down some all around news stories, sports news stories. So right now we're starting the NFL. Um, and a lot's happened in the NFL. But right now, I'm gonna just go through the recent events that's happened. I'm kind of thinking about doing like a whole NFL season preview. Hopefully with Ryan at some point before the season starts. So yeah, that's gonna be something that's gonna be in the works. But we're just gonna get down to some of the recent news stories in the NFL. So the Jets, they lock up two of their star players, their two young star players, and Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. Wilson just agreed to a 4-year, $130 million contract extension, $90 million guaranteed. So Justin Fields has his I guess wide receiver number one going into the season, and Sauce Gardner agrees to a 4-year, $120.4 million contract extension with the Jets. That makes him the highest cornerback in the NFL right now. That was held by the Texans cornerback Derek Stingley Jr. when he signed his 3-year, $90 million contract extension with the team. So, for the Jets, new quarterback, nothing new there. But, to have Garrett Wilson, to have your two young stars, I should say, and Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, I guess it's good for the team. You don't want to see them go to another team and have even better success, I guess, than they could have in New York. So it's gonna be interesting to see. The Jets defense isn't the top defense in the NFL, but having Sauce Gardner there, like I said, it's still a big help for the team, and it sounds like he still wanted to be there. So I mean, wanted to get paid and wanted to stay there and hopefully have some success with the team. Maybe not a Super Bowl in the coming years, but who knows what can happen. I mean, there's been a lot of changes that's happened, not just player personnel wise, but coaching personnel wise, and front office wise as well. So yeah, I mean, this Jets team, man, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do this season with Justin Fields as the new quarterback, and now both Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner having those big contracts. I mean, we've seen players in the NFL when they sign a new big contract, they don't usually perform well that first season. So we'll see what happens. But no expectations from the Jets this year. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, nothing stops in Pittsburgh, right? They got Aaron Rodgers, and now they re-signed their star defensive player in T.J. Watt, now the highest paid non-quarterback player in the NFL right now. 3 years, $123 million contract extension with the Steelers, $108 million guaranteed at signing, and I mean, well deserved. I mean, that defense wouldn't be anything without T.J. Watt, and I think, I mean, signing Aaron Rodgers was already interesting, but it was that looming factor of like, is T.J. Watt going to sign with the Steelers again? Is he going to get traded? I mean, that was it's been, I don't know if we waited a while for that. I guess we did, but good things come at good times. So Steelers fans could be happy about not losing their star defensive line, or their star defensive player, I should say, on the D line there. So how that defense shapes out going into the season. Hopefully he stays healthy. Um, so I mean, like I said, with Gardner and Wilson with their contract extensions, players don't usually do well after signing a big contract extension, but we'll see what happens. Or they get injured. But knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen for TJ Watt. Very, very vital piece of that defense, like I said. And yeah, I don't know if the Steelers will make the playoffs this year. I know they have like that streak of somehow finding their way into the playoffs and having a winning record of like plus 500. So, or plus 500, like the percentage plus 500, right? So, or 0.500. I kept saying plus 500, but 0.500 winning percentage under Mike Tomlin all the years that he's been with Pittsburgh. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. This might be the year they don't make the playoffs. And but hey, I mean, at least you got TJ Watt. You got him for the next 4 years, and like I said, hopefully he stays healthy. Because you're gonna need him. You're gonna need him. If you get other defensive players, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not the defense is bad, but the defense is also not. It's not the worst, but it's also not the best, right? It's kind of like in the mid tier of defense, and TJ Watt obviously is leading that that D line for the Steelers. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about them this season, to be honest with you, but uh, should be interesting. Should be interested to see what they got cooking up there in Pittsburgh. But yeah, TJ Watt got a big bag, deservingly so. Deservingly so. Gets a big bag. So contract extensions, or I should say, recent contract extensions for Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, TJ Watt. Deservingly so. Go get your bag. Ain't nobody gonna get mad at that. All we ask as fans, and on behalf of Jets and Steelers fans, is that you stay healthy and you perform the way y'all do to that put y'all in that position to get those big bags. So that's all you gotta do. Stay healthy and just be better. Well, be better than what you were before you got the contract extension. You know what I mean? I meant to say that in a good way. It sounded better in my head, but hopefully y'all got what I meant. But now to go into I guess some somber news, some really, I guess, sad news. Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice just got sentenced to 5 years of probation and 30 days of jail time that can be served during the 5 years of probationary time for his role in the multi-car crash in Dallas last year. And according to court documents in Dallas, Rice pleaded guilty to 2 third-degree felony charges, which were collision involving serious bodily injury and racing on a highway causing bodily injury. So, very unfortunate for Rice. I know what happened with the Chiefs recently in the Super Bowl. We all knew what happened, but he's definitely he definitely helped out with, or I should say he helped spread out the field a little bit for his fellow wide receiver and Xavier Worthy. Definitely gave him some room. Definitely took on some of that pressure as well. For Xavier Worthy and for Travis Kelce, for that matter, too. So very unfortunate situation for Rice to be in. So what his role is going to be next year, or I guess over these next 5 years, time will only tell. And who knows if the Chiefs are going to keep him longer, or who knows if they're going to keep him when his contract ends with them, whenever that is. we'll see what happens. But very unfortunate. Definitely a key player for that offensive team or for that offensive scheme for the Chiefs. And yeah, they have other options, right? But it just sucks to see a player of Rice's caliber to be in this type of situation, right? So all I can say is, hopefully, hopefully he doesn't do anything stupid in these next 5 years, because right, and he has to serve 30 days anyway during that 5 year probation. So yeah, like I said, very unfortunate situation. Hopefully he doesn't do anything stupid during these next 5 years. So yeah, definitely sucks. And Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison pleading no contest on Thursday, this past Thursday on the 17th of July, to a lesser DUI charge from 2024, and he'll still be subjected to whatever the NFL hands him in terms of like disciplinary actions and all that. Again, another unfortunate situation for the Vikings. Um, and seeing what Jordan did, seeing what Addison did for the Vikings in his first 2 years, and first 2 years, I think he hasn't been there longer than 5 years, but you know during the time he's been with the Vikings now, it's definitely unfortunate to see him be in this situation, and just the things that he's brought to this team, right? And to like Rashee Rice, kind of help out Justin Jefferson with some of that pressure. Can run a deep route for the Vikings when Sam Darnold was there, and now with JJ McCarthy at the helm. Who knows what that situation is going to be like for the Vikings and Addison, but I don't, obviously it's not as bad as what Rashee Rice is going through. So at least, you know, he has that to look forward to. He still has a chance to play for the team and all that. So whatever disciplinary actions the NFL hands down to him, we'll see. Probably some suspension of games and like fines and all that, but who knows? Who knows what the NFL is going to do nowadays with their with with how they treat situations like this. But hopefully Addison can, hopefully he doesn't miss too many games for the Vikings, because he's really a talented player. And as a 49ers fan, I gotta admit, he definitely definitely got some burners on him, right? It's not just Justin Jefferson. So yeah, very, very unfortunate news with Rashee Rice and Jordan Addison. So to wrap up the NFL portion of recent sports news in the sports world, Mike Williams decides to call it a career after 8 seasons. Um, his career stats: 5,104 receiving yards, 48.2 receptions on yards per gain, 32 receiving touchdowns, and 4.1 yards after catch. I mean, he was a good wide receiver, man. He was definitely one of the Chargers' top receivers and one of Herbert's favorite receivers to throw to. But injuries got the best of him, and I don't blame him. He was dealing with an undisclosed injury going into the season. He was set to be on the PUP list going into the season. He was set to go back to the Chargers after playing with the Jets and the Steelers last season. So yeah, he was fun to watch. I didn't really watch much of the Chargers, and especially during his tenure, I didn't watch much of the Chargers. But at the times that I did, he definitely stood out. Um, he definitely stood out as that number one wide receiver, especially when Keenan Allen came in too. I believe Mike Williams is on that team with Keenan Allen at least for a season. I could be wrong. Um, Sorry, I didn't do my research on that. But yeah, I mean, hell of a career, man. I mean, 8 seasons and 5,000 plus receiving yards. Not too bad. So good for Williams to put his health as a priority, because the last thing you want is to end up like an Antonio Brown, right? So good for Mike Williams to call it quits, to call it, well, I don't want to say call it quits, but to call it a career, um, after solid 8 years. I mean, he wasn't really a scrub. It's just, injuries got the best of him, like I said. So yeah, Mike Williams, 8 seasons, calls it a career, solid career, I would say myself. So that's all the NFL stuff, all the recent NFL stuff that I got right now. So now moving on to the NBA, which I gotta say this is a shocker. Damian Lillard going back home to Portland on a 3-year, $42 million deal. Includes a player option after the 2027-28 season, and there's a no trade clause. So it's him and LeBron, the only two players actively playing right now that have a no trade clause in their contracts, which I think is interesting. You would think other big players would have a no trade clause on theirs as well. I thought Triple J would have a no trade clause on his when he signed his contract extension with the Grizzlies. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I was thinking about it today, and I guess I would understand why he would go back to Portland. Right, he was the guy, he was the man. He wants to have that feeling again, and I truly think that him and Giannis tried to make it work in Milwaukee, and it didn't pan out the way that Lillard thought it would be, and even for the Bucks. So, and the Bucks are still paying him. They're stretching out the remaining $113 million on the contract that he signed when he went to Milwaukee. So, in just this season alone, in this coming up season, he will have $70 million between his Trailblazers contract and the Bucks contract. And in the next 2 years, he'll have a set salary of $141 million. And if that's not the craziest thing you've ever heard recently, I don't know what to tell you. Mans is playing for another team, and another team is paying him that much money over the stretch of how much longer that contract is in Milwaukee. I'm assuming the next 2 years, right? So yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. It's crazy times in the NBA. But I don't think anything will. I think the only thing that will get crazier. I think the only thing that will top this is if or when, I guess I should say, if or when LeBron decides to leave LA, to leave the Lakers, to go contend for one more championship before he rides off into the sunset. But I mean, good for Dame, good for Dame Tom going back home to Portland. The most important thing, and when making that decision, was his family, right? He wanted his family to be comfortable, and they felt most comfortable to go back to Portland. And really, this has been in the work for I guess multiple weeks. There have been multiple meetings between Lillard and the Trailblazers. He met with Joe Cronin, the general manager, and Chauncey Billups, the head coach. So they've had multiple meetings over the last recent weeks, and they got a deal done. So good for Lillard. Um, you know, logically thinking, if you're thinking why the Portland Trailblazers would do this, like from a basketball standpoint, I don't know why either. But good for Dame going back home, and for the Trailblazers to welcome him back to the team, because he could be the man again, right? And he still has to rehab off that injury as well. So, off the Achilles injury that he sustained. So, see what happens. But I'm excited to see him in the Trailblazers jersey again, regardless if this trade makes sense or not. I think it's a good thing for Dame just to feel like he's the man again. And fun fact, he's when he got traded to the Bucks, I think Jrue Holiday got traded to Portland. So the fact that him and Jrue Holiday are on the same team again, or that not again, but the fact they're on the same team after what happened, you know, Dame being traded for Drew when Damian went to Milwaukee, and then somehow ended up being the same team again, all these years later. I think it's a funny thing. But yeah, good for Dame. Excited to see him back in Portland. Well, we all thought that Bradley Beal would go to LA if he were to be traded out by Phoenix, and they go to LA. Just not the team we all thought he would go to. Um, the Suns and Bradley Beal agree on a contract buyout, and they send him off to the Clippers. And now this team, if you really think about it, they might be interesting. They might even be a sleeper. Who knows? I mean, they just brought in Brook Lopez and John Collins. Now you bring in a shooter like Bradley Beal, James Harden signing that new 2-year deal. I don't know. This team might make some. They might make some noise there in the West. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. They might do something. They might actually do something this season. The deal is a 2-year deal. I believe it's 100. Oh, sorry, not 100. Not 100. A 2-year deal, $11 million deal with the Clippers. So yeah, I mean, like I said, this is interesting for the next couple years. We'll see what happens, man. I'm kind of intrigued now. Uh, I'm kind of I don't want to say excited, but I'm just intrigued to see what this Clippers team is going to do these next 2 years, or at least these next 2 years, and see what they got cooking. Because I don't know, they might do something, man. I mean, John Collins, now you have Brook Lopez. You still got Zubac. You got James Harden and Bradley Beal. I'm assuming that's your starting five. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of I'm still trying to process all the moves that they made so far, and I'm trying to see what their bench looks like. So yeah, we'll see. But I mean, if they have a solid first half coming into the season, who knows? Who knows? So that's all I got right now for the recent NBA news. Good for Dame going back home to Portland, or going back to Portland, I should say, and just gaining that feeling of wanting to be the number one player on the team again. And like I said, he tried. I feel like him and Giannis trying to make it work, in Milwaukee. It just didn't pan out the way they wanted to. Plus, Damian got injured, during the playoffs this past season. So, you know, good for Dame, and for the Clippers, man. They, like I said, I don't know. They might do something low key. You know what I'm saying? But that's all I got for the NBA. But now we'll transition to the WNBA. And shout out to Portland Fire, man. They just came out with their logos and their watermarks and all that. They start their inaugural season next year in 2026. As the league continues to expand and grow, they just announced a few more cities that they're implementing their teams in: Detroit, Cleveland, and Philadelphia. So shout out to those cities as well, helping continue to grow the WNBA and women's basketball in general. So yeah, man, I've been up to Portland a couple times. Dope city, weird city. Um, so yeah, shout out to the Portland Fire, man. Shout out to the W for expanding the game, especially with all the exposure that they're getting recently, as of recent years. Um, I don't see why they should stop, right? As long as they have the money to do so, continue to grow the game, continue to grow the league, right? But we'll see what happens in this hopefully new CBA contract that they come up with. We'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, yeah. Shout out Portland, shout out to the W, man, for continuing to grow the game. So just had to get that out there a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Um, but the one thing I did want to talk about was DeWanna Bonner. She got traded a few weeks ago to the team that originally drafted her in the Phoenix Mercury. Back in 2009, she was the first. She got drafted in the first round, fifth overall pick by Phoenix, and she gets to team with her fiance Alyssa Thomas again. So good for them. Um, so yeah, she signed a 1 year deal. DeWanna Bonner did. She signed a 1 year deal with the Fever, Indiana Fever, in hopes of winning a championship there, and it seemed like it was working out at the start, and then she got injured, and things didn't happen after she came back from her injury. It just didn't pan out the way she thought she would see her role being, if that makes sense, while she was with Indiana. So she ended up requesting for a trade. There was no trade partner available, at least from the Fever side. So they just ended up waiving her, which ended up being easier for DeWanna anyway. Gave her preferred list of teams that she wanted to go to. Ended up in Phoenix, like I said. And in the 3 games that she's played since the trade, she scored 40 points. Her highest is 22 against the Valkyries. She's averaging 13 points per game since the trade. She's got 18 rebounds in 3 games since the trade, 6 assists and 3 steals. So she still got it. I think she just had to find the right team to be in to really fulfill the best out of her, if that makes sense. So yeah, shout out to DeWanna Bonner getting to team with her fiance again. They were teammates back in Connecticut for a few seasons. They made a trip to the finals. Ended up losing to the Aces in 5 games. Yeah, I mean, it also helps out with the workload for Satu Sabali as well. With Bonner coming off the bench, and just really helping us spread out that floor as well. So they're one of the favorites now to win the WNBA finals. I think they're like the 3rd betting favorite to win the championship, and I think the field is wide open. And I couldn't see why they wouldn't be in that position, right? I mean, even before Bonner got there, they really, before, as we go into the second half of the WNBA season, the regular season, they really started to make that push. And with Bonner coming in, they got better. And, I don't know, they just got more and more exciting as they got into All-Star Weekend, which by the time this episode is posted, it had just happened. So yeah, we'll see what happens during the second half of the season. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Phoenix. I'm very intrigued to see what they do. They'll probably make the postseason, and yeah, we'll see what happens. And I saw a stat on ESPN today that they're slated to get their first 20 wins. The Mercury are slated to get their first 20-win season since 2018. So it's been a minute since they've had a solid team, and I think this is the team that they're going to make a finals run this year. It's probably going to be this team. So yeah, shout out to DeWanna Bonner for putting herself in a position where she can win. So, like I mentioned earlier, the Portland Fire coming to the WNBA next season, next season I should say, 2026, and the additional teams that recently been announced as expansion teams, Detroit, Cleveland, and Philadelphia. But the problem is the CBA that's currently in effect. The players and the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Players Association, have opted out of their current CBA contract that has been in effect since 2020. They just recently opted out of that last year, and they're hoping to get a new CBA contract done by October this year. But recent talks doesn't look promising, and it sucks because the WNBA is starting to get more and more exposure, and they're starting to get more popular a little bit, especially with with Caitlin Clark being in the league, and we're seeing stars like Paige Beckers being in the league, and Juju Watkins said she's set to be in the WNBA the next couple of years or so. AZ Fudd, sorry, AZ Fudd out of Connecticut, who played with Paige Becker. She's slated to be in there as well. Hannah Hidalgo from Notre Dame, right? All these young women, all these young girls from college going to the W, right? I mean, this league is gonna grow bigger and bigger with better superstars. And if they can't come up with a new CBA by what the Players Association is hoping by this October, we might see a lockout, and we may not see expansion teams playing their inaugural seasons sooner than they expected, right? So right now, as of Friday, July 18th, the All-Star Weekend is happening right now in Indiana. And they're supposed to have a meeting during, or I guess before the All-Star festivities happened. They called it a, quote, missed opportunity. Well, no, they had a meeting. Sorry, they had a meeting before the festivities, but they called it a missed opportunity because nothing really came out of their recent talks between the Players Association and the league and the owner representatives. So yeah, it's kind of an unfortunate situation right now, and I think the WNBA is also trying to like push out. They're not saying it, but they're kind of like passively, discreetly saying like, we don't want, because these women, they don't make millions of dollars. Like the highest contract is like 500,000. That's like the max contract you can give a player, right? I think Asia Wilson's making that much money on her contract. The highest paying person in the W is Becky Hammond. She has her contract's like $1 million. So, these women, they have to go out and play in other leagues overseas, or I know Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, they just debuted their Unrivaled league. It's called Unrivaled. So they it's just a league where I think it's like 6 teams, and they get a set of WNBA players that I think opted into wanting to play in the league. So they get income from there. I think it pays higher than it does in the WNBA, which I wouldn't be surprised. But the WNBA, they're trying to like discreetly kind of push those leagues away so that they can be exclusive to the WNBA. But I think Collier said recently that you got to pay these players. Like they got to get paid right for them to be exclusive to the WNBA. That way they don't have to play overseas, or they don't have to create another league to be paid more, right? To help with their WNBA income that they're getting. So yeah, hopefully there's a new CBA done by this October, as the Players Association wish for, in that sense. And I think yesterday, July 17th, there was like a historical player turnout that came to that meeting. So the Players Association fears that because nothing came out of both the Thursday and Friday meetings, and especially with that player turnout that happened on Thursday, that they won't see that same type of turnout in another meeting. So for nothing to come out of that, and you still have to talk about it because nothing came out of it, I think the league has to reevaluate. The league and the owner representatives have to reevaluate their finances and where they're throwing their money at. Because they have a new broadcasting deal, and they're that's how they get more and more exposure. But you also got to you also have to pay these players so that it can help expose the game that much more, especially like I said with players like Juju Watkins and Hannah Hidalgo coming into the league, in these next coming months, they're going to want to get paid, right? And, obviously they have sponsored, they will still have sponsorship deals as they come into the league, whatever sponsors they have in their current NIL deal right now in their respective colleges, um, whatever NIL deal they have right now, they're gonna want to keep those sponsorships going into the WNBA, right? I mean, Caitlin Clark has her Gatorade sponsorship, State Farm, just to name off a couple off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, if you want these women to be exclusive to your league, you got to pay them. You got to pay them well, right? They're not asking for. I don't know. I can't speak for them, but I wouldn't assume that they're asking for NBA type of money, right? Because the league just doesn't have that, and they know that, but they just want to be paid more than what they're getting already. So, and I think Kelsey Plum. I saw a quote from Kelsey Plum. She said that the players don't want a part of the pie. They want the entire pie, right? They want to be a part of that bigger piece of the pie. So, it's up to the league to make that decision because the players know what they want and they're going to fight for what they want. It's just up to the league to pay these players how they should be paid, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's all I got for today. That's all I got for today's news across all arenas. Just the latest in sports. And like I said, hopefully Ryan and I can do like an NFL season preview, and then we'll go through all the NFL stories that happened this past off season, right? Aaron Rodgers getting traded to the Steelers, Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith getting traded to Pittsburgh for Minka Fitzpatrick. Hopefully we can make an episode about all that. We'll dive deeper into all that because I really do want to make an NFL season preview, not recap, obviously. But yeah, I definitely want to do it with Ryan. Hopefully, I can get Danny Higgins on. I kind of owe him one with the missed NFL draft recap episode with all the issues that we had during recording while we were recording the episode. So, yeah, I'll keep y'all updated. Stay tuned. Like I said, Ryan and I were planning on revamping this podcast. Not a whole lot, but just adding in a little thing here or two. So stay tuned. We'll keep y'all updated as best as we can. And hey, I went on TikTok today. I went into our TikTok today, and I posted a video about Connor McDavid and how him scoring 6 points or how him scoring 7 points in 6 games is not acceptable in the Stanley Cup final. And y'all came out. There people came out and they're like, "What you smoking?" and blah blah blah. I'm like, "All right, dude, whatever. Like, it's all good." So, with that being said, follow us on our social medias, on our Instagram and TikTok, and y'all see it right there, the banner, and that little ticker down there. Follow us on our social media. We always appreciate the engagement, good, bad. Just don't send death threats. You know what I'm saying? I walk and TikTok flagged like half those comments, and I was like, you know what? No, we're gonna let the people see this because they deserve to be seen too, right? Even the hateful comments, I'll take those. I will take all the smoke. I ain't afraid of no smoke. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not gonna speak on that. All I'm gonna say is, if you watch that video and you hear me say it's not that getting 7 points is hard, and it's not. I didn't say Connor McDavid was a bad player. I'm just saying if you're the best player in the league and you only score 7 points in the Stanley Cup final, he had 11 last year. He scored 11 points last year, and he almost got the job done, right? But almost doesn't get the job done, right? So all I'm saying is, you score 7 points in 6 games and you're supposed to be the best player in the league, and someone brought up, Florida, he was going up against, the 2 best defensive forwards in the league and all that. And, Bobrovsky was playing out of his mind. I was like, okay, well, that's true. But that kind of goes with my point of saying you're supposed to be the best player in the league. You got to be able to find out how to beat the best 2 defensive players in the league, right? So that's all I'm going to say on that. But y'all feel free to comment on what y'all think about that, but I ain't gonna say nothing more. I have my thoughts. I respect everybody's opinions. So that's all I'm gonna say. I appreciate the engagement. It got us engagement. That's all I'm gonna say. So follow us on our social media pages, on our YouTube page, watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow our social media pages, TikTok, Instagram, and yeah. Until the next episode, I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Keep the engagements coming, y'all. I want all the smoke. I promise y'all, I want all the smoke. I ain't afraid of nothing. Just don't send no death threats, man. That's not cool. That's not cool. Death threats, hate messages, right? Y'all know what I mean, all right? Y'all know what I mean. Don't send no don't send no death threats, no racism, no nothing like that, man. No nothing like that. Nothing like that, man. That's not cool, man. That's not cool in any type of setting. All right? So until then, I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Deuces.